For months, astronomers around the world had been keeping their eyes fixed on an object called 3I ATLAS, the third known visitor from beyond our solar system, following the paths of Oumuamua and Borisov. At first, it seemed like nothing more than another mysterious traveler, an icy, green-tailed body racing toward the inner solar system. But everything changed on September 19, at exactly 2 a.m. Coordinated Universal Time. That night, an amateur observer in Chile captured a sequence of photographs that would upend everything we thought we understood about this interstellar guest. In the images, faint glimmers of light surrounded the comet, 9 distinct points, evenly spaced, each moving in perfect sync with Atlas. They weren't random reflections. They weren't camera errors. They were real. Within hours, confirmation came from every major observatory on Earth. The James Webb Space Telescope, Hubble, and ESO's Very Large Telescope all saw the same thing. 3I ATLAS was not traveling alone. It was escorted. 10 objects in total, 1 primary body and 9 smaller companions, all locked together in precise formation, all emitting a faint green glow unlike anything astronomers had ever recorded. And what those objects revealed over the following days would shake modern astronomy to its core. At first, experts tried to dismiss the strange points as noise, glitches, or reflected cosmic rays, the kind of errors that sometimes trick even the best sensors. But as Webb's infrared data poured in, every doubt evaporated. The companions were real physical objects, each traveling at the same velocity and following the same orbital curve as the main body. Spectral readings showed something even stranger. Their surfaces weren't icy or dusty like normal comet fragments. They contained nickel, cobalt, and traces of engineered alloys, materials that shouldn't exist in natural space debris. More baffling still, their heat signatures made no sense. Each one radiated the equivalent of 20 gigawatts of power, twice as much as 3I ATLAS itself, and far more than any natural object of their size could produce. For comparison, that's enough energy to power entire countries, somehow stored inside bodies barely the size of city blocks. Nature doesn't build reactors. But something else might. If these were machines, if they were constructed, then the reality confronting astronomers was almost unthinkable. What unsettled scientists most wasn't just their energy. It was how they appeared. For weeks, every telescope and deep space probe watching Atlas, from NASA's Parker Solar Probe to ESA's Solar Orbiter, saw nothing unusual. Then, without warning, the 9 objects materialized in less than a millisecond. They didn't drift into view. They blinked into existence, faster than a camera flash, faster than the human eye can react. No natural process behaves that way. It was as if the universe itself had flicked a switch. 1 second. Nothing. The next. A convoy of powered companions perfectly matching the comet's trajectory. To astrophysicists, it looked deliberate. And deliberate meant designed. When researchers modeled the companions' power and thermal output, their simulations broke. No known reaction, not fusion, not fission, not chemical combustion, could explain that energy density inside such small objects. Desperate for answers, theorists began considering the unthinkable: advanced containment fields, antimatter reactors, or even processes involving dark matter conversion. Every conventional explanation failed. Each object appeared denser, hotter, and more stable than the main body, as though they were purpose-built to approach closer to planets, while Atlas itself stayed at a safe distance. They weren't fragments. They were scouts. And that realization sent shockwaves through the scientific community, because it implied intent. Something had placed them there. Something had given them power. And something was controlling their motion. When the discovery leaked to the public, outrage followed. People demanded answers. Why had it taken a backyard telescope to expose what the world's space agencies already knew? NASA and the European Space Agency offered only vague statements, ongoing investigation, no cause for alarm. But behind closed doors, documents began to surface. Classified briefings. Emergency meetings at the Pentagon, ESA headquarters, and China's National Space Administration. Contingency plans with phrases like rapid response launch, orbital interception, and planetary defense readiness. It seemed the silence wasn't ignorance, it was containment. Meanwhile, Harvard astrophysicist Dr. Avi Loeb proposed a theory that chilled even his colleagues: the carrier hypothesis. In his view, 3I-ATLAS might not be a comet at all, but a mothership, a larger interstellar vessel deploying smaller probes as it neared the inner solar system. The 9 objects weren't debris. They were active units, possibly collecting data or scanning nearby planets. Their perfect synchronization and sudden activation could only mean one thing: they were meant to be seen. Skeptics argued for a natural explanation. Perhaps Atlas had shattered after colliding with another object. But collisions create chaos, not coordination. They don't produce perfectly spaced, identical companions glowing with metallic energy. They don't generate uniform green tails or radiate in synchronized pulses. The natural argument collapsed under the data. Even the doubters began to whisper the same word: artificial. And then, as if the story couldn't grow stranger, it did. From the opposite side of the solar system, another interstellar object, designated C-2025 R2, SWAN, began its approach. It was over 100 times larger than Atlas and blazing with an intensity brighter than any comet in living memory. Even more unsettling, its trajectory would bring it within the same orbital corridor as 3I-ATLAS, at almost the same time. 2 interstellar giants, converging within days of each other. Was this a coincidence, or coordination? Some scientists speculated that SWAN might intercept Atlas, acting as a defensive counterpart or relay node. Others suggested the opposite, that the two were part of a single network, rendezvousing near the Sun to exchange energy, data, or cargo. Historians noted something else. Ancient records describing green-tailed, sky visitors appear roughly every 2,200 years. Each linked to upheaval or change. Perhaps humanity had seen this before, without ever understanding it. As panic grew online, official agencies stayed silent. No updates. No explanations. But leaked memos hinted that multiple nations had activated emergency space response protocols. Defense satellites were recalibrated. Old asteroid deflection programs were quietly revived. And several private aerospace firms were approached for rapid deployment vehicle contracts. Still, nothing was said publicly. The only official comment came from a single sentence released by the U.S. government: "We are aware of the situation and continuing to monitor." And then, nothing. In the days that followed, new anomalies emerged. Earth's magnetic field began pulsing, a repeating rhythm every 43 seconds, matching the orbits of the Atlas convoy. Deep-sea sensors recorded subsonic vibrations with no geological source. Whale migration routes shifted. Birds veered off course. Even insects began altering navigation patterns as if something invisible was rewriting the planet's magnetic map. The timing was too precise to ignore. Whatever the 9 companions were doing out there, it was resonating here. Then came the signal. Radio telescopes caught a directed energy burst from one of the companions, not aimed at Earth but at the Moon. It struck an area known for mascons, gravitational anomalies buried beneath the lunar crust that have puzzled scientists for decades. The signal was structured, layered in frequency and amplitude, not noise but pattern. A form of code. It was as if the moon itself were a receiver, or a node, waiting to be activated. And now, something had turned it on. NASA and ESA refused to release any of the raw spectroscopic data. China offered